as Kithic. Thank you very much for joining me today. And today I have the billionaire's build on a millionaire's budget. Yes, you can get into Ring of Ice. You can be blasting deep space. You could be doing the profound bacon strategy if you want something nice and simple, or you could be doing deep space with this particular build. Now, the reason why it is still an expensive build is because the floor at the level that I built it at is including 3 items, and those 3 particular items bring it up to about 30 to 35,000 FE depending on the price of any given day. Those items are going to be your Lone Walkers, Space Rift, and Prairie. Those 3 items are about 30,000. Now, you can do it without an Eternity and Dawnbreak. Eternity is just its comfort. It makes mapping a lot better. I built this particular version of this build specifically for mapping. There are things you can change to make it S20 viable as well. Now, you can swap out a Dawnbreak in there if you do not have an Eternity. Yes, you will map a little bit slower, but you don't have the ramp stuff. You will have more damage right away. So Dawnbreak is definitely a viable option to put in. Now, a few things to note. First of all, you want to keep your Surging Inspiration and your spell bursts at a 1-to-1. If you were starting this build without the corrupted Surging Inspiration, then you only want to have 1 spell burst. If you have the corrupted Surging Inspiration, then you want to have 2 spell bursts. You don't want to have 3. You don't want to have 4, like you don't want to do anything like that. You want to keep it to 1-to-1. If you do any kind of shenanigans with increasing your spell bursts past what your Surging Inspiration is, then you better be doing the things that are reducing it for additional damage as well. So I'm not doing that, but that is an option that is out there. On top of that, the big thing is on your Antimony. You want to ensure you under no way, shape, or form accidentally buy one with this first line corroded. That's going to brick your build and make it so you only have 60 order instead of 100 order, and that means you're going to have 4 times each of your modifiers less. That's a bad thing. Don't do that. So they will be the cheapest ones on the market. Don't buy them. You need to make sure it is 100 non-corroded. The second mod here is the only other mod that matters. This is the one that actually interacts with the damage you're going to get. So having this 25 or 35, yes, bigger number better. Is it worth like 5,000 versus 1,000 later on? Sure, when you're at the nosebleed part where you're trying to get every little bit of extra damage out because you want that. But do you need it for mapping? No. Next is, as you see, my order is ticking from 0 and 100, and it kind of like flashes back and forth. That is due to the interaction with the Antimony. Once it reaches 100, it goes back to 0. So we are getting it down to 100 instantly every single tick. This is very specific items that you cannot change. You have to have the Space Rift. You need to have each of the Last God's Footsteps. These ones here on the vertical line on the same line have the 15% when on a same line as another. You need to have 2 of those. These 2 here, not on the same line as any others, they have the 35% when not on the same line. If any one of these is not in or moved, all right, let's just adjust this and move this down. This is going to make it so now you have a tick of not having all of your order. That is bad. Do not do this. You want to ensure that your order is 0-100 at all times. If you see any other numbers, then you did something wrong. More than likely what you did was on here or here. You just put, instead of the 15s on this vertical line here, you put some combination of them elsewhere. You have to have the 15s on the vertical line. You have to have the 35s on, not on another line with any others. It needs to be set up with that. It needs to be next to here. The only time you can change anything about this is going to be if you get so lucky, and I have not been, on crafting a slate like this. If you craft a slate and you get your order mod and you get not the additional decrease, but the increase, then you could replace one of these. You could. Also, yes, I could put a moth here. A moth would be a DPS increase, or I could get lucky. But I'm not going to get lucky crafting that. But I'm telling myself I will. This is very end game. The cost of this slate is almost the cost of the Prairie or the Space Rift. After crafting at this point, it is definitely as much as that with all the fails. Save that for last, and if anything, you probably don't even want to do it. Other than that, everything else will be listed. You have all of the notes. I personally recommend building it into movement speed, because movement speed is the limiting factor. Yeah, you get all your immunities fairly cheap. If you want to lose some movement speed to get your immunities on your rings, you can do that. There are some like, some of this should be swapped around. I just have moved pets around, and originally I needed this elemental res, and now I don't. So those should be replaced. Like, this should be there, kind of thing. It's not. There are some things that could be just, improved upon. With that said, trauma damage immunities, the wilt damage immunities, weaken immunity, and 1 mitigation for slow. So everything is pretty much taken care here. Beyond that, you are getting your immunities, your elemental immunities on the corroded tendency of the stars. Just use the corrosion material, whichever one that is. I don't have one. Use the corrosion material to roll into it. I bricked about 3 or 4 of them before finally rolling into it, and it took like a dozen of them, rolling, into corroding into getting implicits before I even got it. So it was kind of frustrating in that it wasn't super expensive for getting your immunities. If you are so lucky that you get crowd control immunities on your belt, then you don't need the weaken or the slow. Beyond that, of course, there is the next version, which is the Corona, but that's a whole nother build. That this right here costs about half as much as one Corona wand, maybe like 70% of a Corona wand. So enjoy. Oh, with that said, you can also find me. You can ask questions down below in the comment sections, or you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/KithicX. Thank you very much. Quick little overview of all the gear, because build codes do not persist through. So I'm going to come back to those guys after I get a little bit. There we go. All right. Did you not open? Are you not opening? There it goes.
The wedding on the lane, drop top Benz, Alizade and champagne, Rolex high sitting on name. Hot girl a scream and them a call out him name, them a call out him. But when me walk round the bend, sight him baby mother and the 4 children. Inna Miss Patella does food again. Some baby daddy got a big problem, who no tell me. Walk to them, they a jerk. They how them move it make we head hurt. Almani pants and the Versace shirt, and them baby daughter need a shoes and a skirt. Now put my money in them baby mother purse. We go buy champagne, them the fussy run first. Pick me the yard and a dead fitters. But for the chorus we out of the verse. How we go again? The wedding on the lane, drop top Benz, Alizade and champagne, Rolex high, everything brand name. Hot girl a scream and them a call out him name, them a call out him. But when we walk round the bend, sight him baby mother
45. Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty happy with it. So here you go.
氷と